When we're running, a lot of our training runs are several hours, 2, 3 hours. Liam, you've done solo marathons once a week for years. I've done a few of those. That's a lot of time alone with your thoughts. But fortunately, with technology, we can put things in our ears that stop us from being locked in our head for several hours. So, what do we listen to while we're running? Well, you have a few options. You can listen to audiobooks nowadays, or podcasts, or lots and lots of heavy metal music, which is my choice. And I've tried audiobooks, I've tried podcasts, um, but after a while, after half an hour or something, I'm just like, screw it. I'm just gonna put on some music. And I like to listen to audiobooks or podcasts while walking, riding a bike, and or doing housework, stuff like that, where there's not really any physical exertion involved. But if I'm running or if I'm at the gym, then I'm definitely listening to metal music. And the way I make my playlists makes perfect sense to me. It's literally just the name of the band and then all of that band's albums in chronological order. And then that's the order that I listen to it. I can't do like random playlists or listen to any of these playlists in random order. Mm, my brain just really doesn't like it. I have to go through the progression of all the albums. And I'll also have times where I discover a band or I kind of go back and rediscover a band and all their later albums. And I'll listen to that band for weeks or sometimes even a month or two, just focusing on that one band and then go and mix it up again. So Spotify hates listeners like me because we seem like we already know what we like, and it's really hard for them to recommend new stuff to us. And I also don't put any description in my playlist. It's just the name of the band. So that makes their job really hard, but I don't care. I have my own listening habits. And I even made a list of the playlists that I use when I'm running or in general when I'm listening to music. When I'm working, then I'll listen to instrumental music, usually like ambient electronic music or symphony orchestra versions of video game music, specifically Final Fantasy. Yeah, so I've a very specific, some might say weird taste in music, but you'll see a common thread in the band playlist that I listen to. Lately, I've been really into Korn. That's Korn with a K and a capital backwards R, if you're not familiar. They're from the 90s, which means they're awesome. And I had only heard their first four albums that they came out with in the 90s. Turns out in the past 30 years, they've released a total of 14 albums, so they just haven't stopped for 3 decades. Anyway, Korn, Beartooth, Marilyn Manson, Nirvana, Linkin Park, Health, that's all caps, Health, Bad Omens, Daft Punk, Radiohead, Sleep Token, Nine Inch Nails, Rob Zombie, Tool, and Pussifer. So whenever I go for a run, I queue up whatever I feel like listening to. And if I get to a certain point in a playlist and then go do something else, when I come back from my next run, I'll start in the same point in that playlist. So I listen to music kind of like how you read a book, from beginning to end, and then after you're finished, you move on to it. Except I go through the playlist lots of times. Some books I read through lots of times, but I have very specific listening habits, and I kind of need something that's heavy like that, full of energy when running, even if it's a long run where I'm not running fast. And I don't know why, just gives me energy. And if I'm listening to something else, then I'll get bored pretty quickly and then end up switching to music. How about you, Liam? What do you listen to when you run?
Yeah, well, I kind of am all over the place. One thing we definitely have in common is I find it hard to listen to um, podcasts and audiobooks when I'm running. When I'm going for a walk, I love it, really into it, but just can't do it for a run. I do also like to experience with game music. And when you mentioned Final Fantasy, here a couple weeks ago, maybe, yeah, about a couple weeks ago, I started listening to just a collection of Final Fantasy VII songs on my runs and on shuffle. So, some days, some songs will be a bit more peaceful, okay, slow, and then suddenly One Winged Angel comes on, and now it's interval training, and I got to go because I can't not run fast to that song. But yeah, I do that a lot, or I'll find just for like my daily runs, like today I want to listen to Lord of the Rings something, and course, there's peaceful songs and then exciting songs. So it really kind of affects my pace a lot sometimes. So I do a bit of that. Um, so for my daily runs, I don't have quite a fixed playlist, just whatever I'm feeling that day, maybe this artist or this theme, and I have a collection of like songs from different languages. So maybe oh, I haven't listened to Vietnamese songs in a while. There's this one, or today I want to listen to Mongolian songs, and I just have a collection of different ones of many genres. So it's kind of odd and musically very, very odd, but that's my daily running is listening material. But as for the marathons I've done where it's not a big race, if it is a big race, I also don't wear headphones. I try and focus around me and talk with people a lot. But when I was doing a lot of, I guess, marathons completely on my own, sometimes once or twice a week, I would have a goal of not running too fast. So for me, I would kind of make an intentional, not a storyline, but like a nice flow. So I have, I guess the most recent marathon playlist I have it here. It's 5 hours and 2 minutes long. So my goal if I was running a marathon completely alone was for the first half to at least take 2.5 hours and do not go faster than a 5 hour marathon pace was my goal. And near the end, I would get faster and faster. And in the end, I would just was the goal. And my playlist reflects that. My official times do not always reflect that, but the playlist does. Um, so yes, I can let you know how it goes. Um, I also noticed as you mentioned, as we run longer and longer, the amount of songs we'll have to listen to also increases. So I try to play a mental trick with myself. I can listen to just a normal pop song, rock song, whatever, but it could take about 5 minutes maybe. So for a 3 hour run, that's a lot of songs. But I realized, hey, if I listen to like Tchaikovsky's Symphony Number 5, that's 45 minutes for one song. And then I said, hey, I only have one more song to go. It's 45 minutes, but it's still just one song. And in my free time, I also perform with some orchestras. So it was kind of a way to just feel the music and listen, just get used to it and practice with it actually touching my instrument. So yeah, I started to include those. So here is a kind of weird progression of one of my most recent playlists. So it starts off with a 45 minute, and this one is about 45 minutes. In previous playlists, it's been about an hour of like really, really slow, boring Korean traditional music. Because I'm living in Korea, I was studying Korean traditional music for about a year and a half in university, and people hate this song. If you're performing it as a job, you probably still don't like it. But people who don't know it, when they go to watch this live, they fall asleep. Even I almost fell asleep, and it was my major. So it's really slow and just like quite boring. But this 45 minutes has an interesting progression where it gets slowly faster. So it kind of repeats similar themes and gets faster and faster, like my goal was to hopefully negative split on my runs. And after 45 minutes, it would move into, I guess, European classical music. So in this particular playlist, I have some symphonies by Dvorak, Mozart, and sometimes I switch between Beethoven or Tchaikovsky, just things that I would be practicing for my concerts. If I have experience playing them, it just makes me more excited. So I know, oh, there's a bassoon solo coming because I play the bassoon and I get excited. It reminds me of the good times I have playing those songs with some friends. And people who are in the classical music field will probably get mad at me for calling them songs instead of pieces, but that's not important at the moment, in my opinion. Anyways, I have the classical section, and then it ends with like really like precursor to metal type of classical. Like it starts off peaceful, and then it's like on the strings, like wang, 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 and sounds very jarring to the average person. But that's where it starts to transition. And then I do kind of a world tour. So after that, it begins with instrumental Irish and Celtic music, just some jigs. Most of the titles have jigs in the name. And then it goes to some game music. So sometimes Final Fantasy. I also played a lot of a very old game. Many people probably are unaware of the name, but it was called Ultima Online, one of the first MMORPGs ever made. And I really love the soundtrack. So I have some songs from that. Then it goes to um, I guess the first section is slow Vietnamese songs. So kind of chiller Vietnamese songs. Goes into Korean 80s music. There's one singer I really like in the 80s, and now he's about 70 years old, but he also released a new album recently. So it kind of follows him to his current state of going from 80s music to music now, and it's exciting. His name is Cho Young Pil for anyone interested. And then it goes into some Korean hip hop, some very fast stuff. And then it goes into Vietnamese hip hop and just really fast pop music, followed by then it goes to Chinese fast music, hip hop, with a couple ballads here and there just because I like them. And then when I start to get, this past 4 hours now, then it goes into Punjabi music and like Bhangra music, and where I just want to dance and go crazy, and I just go running fast. And then I have these runs planned, so I guess the last part of the run will always be the same two songs. So I guess the second to last one, and if I'm ahead of schedule, I'll skip to get there. If I'm behind schedule, I'll repeat a song or two. But the second to last song is called Ishta Charka, which I need to find out what the translation is because I do not remember. But it's by the same man who sang Tunak Tunak Tun, like Tunak Tunak, Tunak Tunak, Tunak Tunak, Tu Da Da Da, which was a big meme almost 15 years ago now, but a hilarious YouTube video. Very exciting. But one of the reasons I have this is I guess the BPM is about like 188 or 190 or something like that. So when I really want to pick up the race at the end of the run, it's perfect to match the beat and just keep running. And it's very exciting and fun, positive. And then right when I get to the last maybe 300 or 400 meters, even if that song's not done, I hit next, and it is the theme for the Bridge of Khazad Dûm from Lord of the Rings. And this is a huge geek here, but it starts off with just the very exciting like dun 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 dun, and it's just adventure music. Balrog's coming. Everyone's got to run out of the mines of Moria, and there's me sprinting to the finish line, and I try and make the last couple hundred meters very fast. But yeah, that is how my playlist has ended up, kind of all over the place. But I do try and follow that structure for the most part.
That's a really interesting idea, making basically a mixtape
So
for
yeah,
the length of a marathon and then just using that each time. And yours is much more diverse than my Angry White Guys, the band times 14. But you made one really good point. Some songs just make you not be able to not go fast. And I find that that's very addictive. And you don't really get that from audiobooks,
right.
right? Where you kind of just focusing more on what you're listening to rather than the running. And but some
Yep,
people
I
use
did take.
audiobooks
Yeah,
and they enjoy it, but everybody's
yeah,
different.
that's true. I have heard someone recommended an app like that that creates zombie audiobooks that basically narrate your run and say, now there are zombies coming from behind. You must run faster. You have a few seconds to rest. Now they will be coming again. There are more zombies. You see a building, run inside. And it's kind of scary, but to run alone in the dark like that. But it's effective for that friend.
So you just imagine that there are zombies chasing you, and that's your motivation for running.
I guess so. And it just creates it. I guess it also uses GPS and like track your time. So
Oh,
it kind of creates a custom story. I haven't used it, but it seems
hmm.
very intriguing.
We should touch a bit on what kind of earphones we use. We both use
Oh,
these over-ear earphones. The ones that go inside your ear, I don't know if my ears just aren't the right shape, but those just don't stay in my ears. They just fall out. And I find that I have to keep jamming them in my ear. It's really frustrating. But these over-the-ear ones work great, and I can wear them for hours, and they don't hurt my ears or anything like that. The ones that go over your ears aren't good for running because you can't hear anything in your environment. So they're not very safe. So these are the ones that I would definitely recommend to anyone. And they also come in the little case where you can charge them, which is a great technology, by the way. You can charge them right in the case that holds them. Um, these ones are a little bit older, and the battery starts to run out at about 3.5 hours. So what I've started doing now is I'll charge them right before my run, and uh, I'll basically pump as much juice out of them as I can. Sometimes I'll put them away to charge them for a bit, just so that I can have them up to the end. But I'm sincerely considering getting another pair of the same ones. These ones need to be replaced pretty soon anyway. But that way I'll have two pairs that will both charge in the same case, and I can just swap them out when one starts to die. And that way I can run for 4 hours, 5 hours, and have earphones the whole time. What do you use?
Yeah, I also use the like kind of clip over the ear ones. I've tried like to the jamming in, and if I really push and squeeze and twist, they also kind of get covered in earwax, and when I sweat, that's not nice. But yeah, it feels like it blocks out the world unless they fall out, which they often do. So it doesn't seem as safe as well. So I like the clip on the ear ones. I have tried like the wrap around the back of the head, I guess bone conducting headphones. I've tried cheaper ones. I know they can be very expensive. I guess they kind of, for those who can see the video, they look like this, and they go over the back instead of over the top, and they're very thin. I like these because they do sit more in front of the ear, so it does less blocking of the sounds around you, so it is a lot safer. I know if you're riding a bike, you probably shouldn't be listening to music, blah blah blah. But when I ride a bike casually, I do use these, and I find that a lot safer than jamming something in my ear. But with these, the battery doesn't last quite as long, and like you said, charging on the go. With these ones, since they're separate, I can take one out and charge it while I use the other one, so I can have it last for the entire run for the case of a long run. So I do prefer the clips around the ear and individual ones.
There you go, kids. Don't jam stuff in your ears.
That's don't you put it in your ears.
All right. And with that, we conclude our listening habits and how we listen to stuff. And since this is the podcast, I'm contractually obligated to ask you to like and subscribe. But if you are listening to this, you're probably one of our parents and you've done so anyway. So we're going to end it now. We don't know how to end episodes. The episode is ending. Goodbye.
The end has come.